Hello everybody, welcome to Tiger Tales, a place where you will find stories and fanfictions written and read to you by your host, me, Tai Tiger. Today we're delving back into Power Rangers Universe 113, where the Team Future Foundation resides. But today's chapter we're going to take a step away from the original team, because we're going to introduce someone new. So let's dive in with today's chapter.
Welcome to Universe 113, a place where an old evil has continued its quest for ultimate power, starting by kidnapping previous Rangers and stealing their powers. But not all is lost, as a new generation of Rangers is born, bringing new life to the legendary powers that came before them. They are the new heroes of Earth. They are Power Rangers Future Foundation.
Power Rangers Future Foundation, Chapter 21, Xander's New Mission. Xander Newman was asleep, yet he struggled to escape his nightmares. He dreamt of the dreadful day that changed his life 5 years prior. He was in the basement of the family house in Angel Grove with his other brother Mikhail, who had moved to Blessington a few weeks beforehand. Being older than him, he was able to move, but he had returned home to collect some of his stuff, which was placed in the basement. Xander and Mikhail had a rough housing sort of relationship, so every now and then they would scrap with each other. Mikhail started on Xander by flicking his ear.
Dude.
Xander snapped. Then Mikhail repeated himself. Xander then jabbed Mikhail's side. Then both boys grabbed each other and ended up in a ball of flicking, jabbing, hair-pulling, smacking each other in the genitals. Xander swept his foot under his brother's leg, making Mikhail drop to the floor. "Oh, you're so gonna get it now," Mikhail grinned. Then he ran for the door, which was a big brown double door which was placed on a slant on the side of the Newman house.
No you don't.
Xander barked and chased after him. Mikhail bolted out of the basement and swung the doors closed, leaving Xander in the basement. But Xander managed to put his arm out, which was now caught between the two doors. Mikhail leaned on the door, using his weight to barge him in. Xander tried to push him off the door with his arm, but he could not move due to his arm being stuck. Mikhail then tickled Xander's exposed arm. "If you, say I'm the king, then, I'll let you out," Mikhail mocked.
King of being a huge pain in the ass.
Xander yelled. "Arm going dead yet?" Mikhail asked.
No, actually, I could stay here all day.
Xander lied. Then suddenly, as Xander continued to push the door open as best he could, which he found difficult due to the fact his arm was trapped between the two door panels, a huge white flash of light happened on the other side of the door. Xander could feel an intense amount of heat on his trapped forearm. Then suddenly, the door started ripping apart around him. Xander was thrown back by a huge shockwave. He hit the floor. Xander opened his eyes and climbed to his feet. Then he saw it. His left arm. His left forearm was completely gone. His hand was gone. His elbow was spitting blood. He screamed out in pain and shock. After a few minutes, he noticed that Mikhail hadn't come to find him, and no one came running when he screamed. He looked up, and the door to the basement had completely disintegrated. It was gone. He climbed out of the basement, and as he got to his feet, he noticed everything was gone. There was no house, no neighborhood, no Angel Groves. Xander was stood in a town-sized pile of ash. There was nothing left, not a single person or pet or any proof that people lived there. Xander's eyes filled with tears as they rolled down his face. He looked up and saw several helicopters in the clear blue sky. He waved his only arm and a half to get their attention. Then Xander woke up. Sweat ran down his face. He ran his left hand through his hair. He then picked up his phone and checked it. It was dead. He fumbled around for a charger and finally was able to put his phone on charge. He waited for a bit for his phone to charge. He then wiped the sweat off his forehead.
Bloody nightmares.
he barked to himself. He then got dressed, grabbed his phone, and went for a run. He left his brother's apartment and jogged through the town of Blessington. He jogged around for a couple of hours, then stopped by a bench and sat there to catch his breath. That's when he saw a big muscle robot monster resembling a bear stood in the park, talking to itself. Xander clenched his fists and walked over to the monster. The monster clocked Xander. "What do you want, human?" the monster growled.
Who are you? What are you doing here?
Xander barked. "My name is Ursa. I am looking for my beloved. She wasn't in Angel Groves," the monster replied. Xander looked at the monster with a glare as he heard the town's name.
You must be new around here. Angel Grove doesn't exist anymore.
Xander snapped back. "Well, I know this. It is my greatest masterpiece." Ursa laughed. Xander stood there, his blood now boiling with rage.
It was you? You destroyed my home? My family is gone 'cause of you?
Xander barked. Tears started running down his cheek. "Oh, don't get dramatic, human. It was only a little town," Ursa growled.
That town was everything to me.
Xander said through his teeth. Then he clenched both his fists. He ran at Ursa. He threw a punch, but Ursa caught it. Then, with his free hand, he clenched his fist, and the claw around his wrist shifted over his hand, forming into a huge bear-like claw. Then Ursa swung up, slashing Xander. The attack threw Xander back. He landed backwards, crashing onto the soft grass. Xander stood. He was all in black. And stood in front of him was a battered and beaten morphing master knight.
Who are you?
Xander asked, confused. "I'm a morphing master," the knight responded.
Okay, another question. Why is a morphing master talking to me?
Xander asked. "This world is in trouble, young Xander. We need rangers," the master replied.
They got rangers. Clearly, you don't watch the news.
Xander snapped. "There needs to be more. There's an army that is slowly growing. You need to be a part of the opposing force. The original teams that formed Rangers cannot stand for your world now, and the team of Rangers who destroyed them once before are no longer. There must be a new set of Rangers," the knight explained.
So what? I'm your next choice?
Xander asked. "Here," the master said, and held out his hand, and suddenly a power morph appeared before Xander, floating there.
That's a power morpher.
Xander blurted. "Correction. It is Tommy Oliver's power morpher, the master morpher. With it, you'll be able to turn into the 5 rangers that Tommy dawned many years ago," the master explained.
This bear machine guy, is he part of this army?
Xander asked. "Yes, he is. He is the brother of the leader, one of the generals," the knight replied.
Then count me in.
Xander said, and grabbed the master morpher. Then Xander woke up and sat up, and Ursa was looking dead at him. Xander looked down at his left arm and saw the skin mesh had been scratched open. He grabbed it and pulled it off, revealing his robotic forearm. Me and you seem to be one and the same," Ursa grinned.
No, we ain't. This is just a fix for something that happened, which you did.
Xander realized. "Cry me a river, kid," Ursa laughed.
I got a better idea.
Xander said, and pulled out the Master Morpher out of his jacket pocket. "You're a Power Ranger?" Ursa barked.
Not yet, but I'm about to be.
Xander grinned. Then suddenly the images of the Rangers linked to the Master Morpher flashed in his mind. The green and white Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the red Zia Ranger, and the black Dino Thunder Ranger. Xander then held out the Master Morpher.
Dragon Zord!
Xander called out, and in a green flash of light, Xander was morphed into the green Mighty Morphin Power Ranger. The Green Ranger ran at Ursa and jumped up and sidekicked him in the chest, knocking the robotic bear monster back. Then the Ranger dived in and double punched him in the torso, before throwing another kick. This time Ursa caught him by the leg and grabbed the Green Ranger's chest, then lifted him up off the ground and threw him across the field. The Green Ranger crashed on the ground and quickly jumped to his feet.
Okay, fine. Let's up the stakes, shall we?
The Green Ranger called out and pulled out the Master Morpher once more.
White Ranger power!
He called out, then in a flash of white, he was morphed into the White Mighty Morphin Power Ranger. The White Ranger ran at Ursa, jumping up, and kicked him in the head. Then he landed and threw several punches, striking the monster. Then Ursa's fist got encased in the claws once more, and both set of claws started glowing white. Then he swung his claws, sending several energy slashes at the White Ranger. The White Ranger got bombarded by the attacks, and then was thrown off his feet. He landed on the ground. Ursa bolted for him and swung his claw, smacking the White Ranger, knocking him back. The White Ranger stood up slowly and ran at Ursa, but he threw his claws down, slicing the Ranger. The Ranger fell to his knees and demorphed. "You cannot stop me or my family, young Ranger. Learn that quickly," Ursa barked. Then the big bear paused, attached, unfolding around the wrists once more, revealing his hands. Ursa then held his hand out. Xander looked at him confused. "You're a worthy contender. Practice, boy. Then at our next meet, we can thrive in the glory of the battle," Ursa sneered, then turned around and walked away. Xander jumped to his feet.
Wait!
Xander called out, but he dropped back down to one knee due to the damage he got from the fight. Then Ursa teleported away.
Damn it!
Xander called out and punched the ground with his robotic fist. Xander then slammed his fist into the ground multiple times. Xander climbed to his feet, then noticed his robotic forearm had been damaged from the fight. He walked away, leaving the park. He walked up to a block of flats, and entering the building, he walked up to apartment 19, and knocked on the door. He then knocked again, and suddenly it swung open, and a young blonde woman opened it.
I'm sorry, I'm looking for Haley.
Xander said. She's not here. She's actually missing," the girl snapped.
Missing how?
Xander asked, confused. "I don't know. Hey, wait, you're Xander, right? Looks like you're in need of a fix," the girl said, pointing at Xander's robotic arm.
Maybe I do. What's it to you?
Xander snapped back. I'm actually Haley's apprentice. I know a thing or two. Let me look at it," the girl said. Xander sighed.
Fine.
Xander huffed. She let him in, and he sat at the kitchen table, rolled up his sleeve, and laid his robotic forearm on the table. The girl pulled out some tools and went to work. "Name's Mel, by the way," the girl said.
Nice to meet you.
Xander replied. "So what happened? This is some high-level stuff. Whatever scratched you must have been powerful," Mel asked him as she started rewiring some of the red wires.
Can you keep a secret?
Xander asked her. "Of course I can," Mel grinned. Then Xander explained everything that happened a few hours beforehand with Ursa. "A Power Ranger with a Master Morpher? Damn, dude, that's pretty cool," Mel chuckled.
Just don't know what to do now.
Xander sighed. "Well, maybe you need to, I don't know, find someone to help you learn how to use it," Mel suggested.
Maybe you're right.
Xander said solemnly. Suddenly his phone vibrated with his free hand. He pulled his phone out of his pocket and checked it. It was a text from Dante Securus, an old friend and tournament buddy of his. He read the text and smiled. He remembered that Dante was trained by Adam Park, a 3-time Ranger. "Girlfriend?" Mel asked.
No. But I think I just found someone who can help.
Xander said with a grin. Mel then carried on working on the robotic arm, chatting with Xander. In the land without time and space, William Cranston placed a new white piece on the 3-section board that symbolized Universe 113. "Welcome, Xander Newman, to the gang," William grinned. Then the Kashi landed next to him. "What you doing?" he asked. "Can you go away?" William barked. William then walked to the knight. "Well done. You did well once again," he told the knight. "Thank you, sir," the knight replied. William then sat there and watched Universe 91. Takashi sat next to him and they both watched the port monitor. "I thought I said go away," William growled. "Hey, you bought free television. Don't hate me." Takeshi grinned. William rolled his eyes, watching, waiting for a moment to intervene, begging for a moment to jump in and save Universe 91. There we have it, guys. Chapter 21. Power Industry Foundation. Hope you guys have enjoyed this chapter. Just want to thank Xander for voicing Xander. You'll know him as Pyro in My Mutants for Hire, and he's also the son of Cosplay Dude 637, my pirate tag. This story was brought to you by the Three Ranger Bros Studios. The Three Ranger Bros include myself, Tai Tiger, Cosplay Dude 637, where you'll find him on TikTok, and his podcast Power Rangers Universe 19, where he does an array of different Power Rangers and Kamen Rider stories in the universe of 19. Then we also have Mark the Red Cornish Ranger, the third member of the Three Ranger Bros Studios. Mark the Red Cornish Ranger has a podcast called Nursery Comics, which he adapts comic books into audio dramas, and soon enough he'll be bringing his own Power Ranger storylines to light. We're in association with the Zero to Hero podcast. Billy and Jim, the Broken Skull of podcasting, are just a blast to listen to. They're a lot of fun, and they talk about all different types of topics, so make sure you go check them out. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to check out the rest of my Power Ranger storylines. Thank you all for listening, and I shall see you guys real soon.